everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope you are well. In this week's video, I'm bringing you a tutorial that has been highly requested. Thank you for being so patient, but today is the day I'm bringing you the Willow Waistcoat. So in this tutorial, I'm going to be making this granny square vest with a lace-up kind of corset style front and frill hem. This is a made-to-measure project, so it should be suitable for all sizes. It can be customised in terms of length and colour, and also adaptable to whatever yarn type you have, whether it be cotton, acrylic, etc. I will be leaving written instructions on screen for you to follow, but if you prefer a PDF version, something you can keep, and maybe you want to support this channel in another way, then I will be releasing this as a written pattern on my Ko-fi, Etsy shop and website. Before we get started, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you have not already. Here's everything I'm going to be using for this project. In the example, I do use DK or 8-ply yarn, so both are suitable, but I just personally prefer Aran weight. And we're going to start off with the granny squares. I'm not going to talk too in depth about these because you would have heard me talk about granny squares a lot on this channel, but I like to start with a magic ring, chain 3 and make 2 double crochet, and then repeat chain 2 and 3 double crochet to create 4 center clusters. Oh, and I'll also be using US crochet terms throughout this pattern. At the end of this row, if you do want to change colours like I am, then tie off here by making a chain 1, cutting the working yarn and pulling through that chain loop. Don't forget to also secure the center end at the back and sew in all the ends whenever you can. Now for the second row, I'm changing colour. You don't have to, you can just stick with the same colour that you were using, but I'm going to attach this with a slip stitch to any chain 2 space and complete a second row for this granny square. At the end of row 2, I'm going to be changing colour, so I'm going to tie off again just like I did last time. For this cropped style, I have made a total of 16 granny squares, but if you want to alter this, I'll show you how to do that in a bit. For now though, row 3, I'm going to be using the join as you go method, which I'm going to talk you through because it's going to be way easier. Here I'm attaching my new yarn with a slip stitch to the corner chain space of this granny square, making a chain 3 and then 2 double crochet, chain 2 and 3 double crochet all in the same chain space. And I'm essentially starting off with another round for this granny square. So always making a chain 1 and then 3 double crochet in the next chain space, chaining 1 again and completing a corner, which is going to be 3 double crochet, chain 2 and 3 double crochet all in the same chain space. So now I'm at this point of the granny square and I'm going to chain 2 like I normally would, but instead of completing the corner of this granny square, here I'm bringing in a new granny square and making 3 double crochet in this corner chain space. After that, I'm slip stitching back to the previous granny square in the opposite chain space here, chaining 1 and then 3 double crochet in the current granny square. Slip stitching back to the previous square again, chaining 1, and now I'm at a corner, so I'm going to make 3 double crochet, chain 1, and we're going to attach it to this corner chain space with a slip stitch, chain 1 again, and go back and complete the current square we're on by making 3 double crochet in that corner chain space. And the process you've just seen is going to be used to connect new granny squares every time. So from here I'm continuing around the granny square, chaining 2 at this corner chain space and then bringing in a new granny square to connect. In total, I'm connecting 8 granny squares to create 1 strap, and you can check the length at this point by placing it over your shoulder, so 4 squares at the front, 4 at the back, and if it's too short for you, feel free to add more granny squares. If you are happy with the length, then you can continue with row 3 by crocheting around the granny square again. But obviously at this corner, there's no need to add any more granny squares, so after the chain 2, I'm going to complete the corner with 3 double crochet. And then I'm going to crochet along this long edge of the strap. So here I'm making a chain 1, 3 double crochet in the next chain space, chain 1, and then 3 double crochet to complete this corner chain space, chain 1 again, and I'm going to slip stitch to this connecting chain 2 that's in between the squares. Chain 1 and then 3 double crochet to complete the next corner chain space. And this is just going to be repeated across that long edge of the strap, where eventually you should reach back to the beginning of row 3. So after this last 3 double crochet, I'm going to make a chain 1 and a slip stitch to the top of the beginning chain 3 and tie off. Again, just ignore me if you don't want to change colours, but I'm changing colour for every row. So I'm going to attach my new yarn with a slip stitch where I've just tied off, chain 3, and then make 3 double crochet in the next chain space. And because this is a corner, I'm going to make a chain 2 and another 3 double crochet all in the same chain space. Now for row 4, I'm just going to repeat chain 1 and 3 double crochet in every chain space. But I am going to skip over the corner chain spaces and instead make 3 double crochet in this space between the 2 squares. So it should look something like this. And repeating this around the entire border of the strap, but of course when I get to a corner I'm making 3 double crochet, chain 2 and 3 double crochet. So here I am back along the long edge. I'm at my last corner, and when I reach the beginning in this last chain space I'm going to make 2 double crochet, slip stitch to the top of the beginning chain 3 and tie off. At this point the straps should measure about 4 inches wide, and I'm going to repeat rows 3 and 4 for the other granny squares to create 2 straps of equal length. Now for the back panel, I have repeated rows 1 to 3 of the granny squares to create this separate strip of granny squares. But obviously if you have altered the length previously, then you will want to also alter the length of this back panel. So now what would be row 4 for the granny squares, I'm going to attach my new yarn to this corner chain space with a slip stitch, chain 3 and make 2 double crochets. But now I'm going to use the join as you go method again. So from here I'm going to make a chain 1, slip stitch to the corner chain space of one of my straps, chain 1 again, and complete the corner chain space of the back panel by making 3 double crochet. I'm going to be attaching this back panel across the long edge of the strap, so from here I'm slip stitching in the next chain space opposite on the strap, chaining 1 and then making 3 double crochet in the back panel. And again slip stitching to the opposite chain space, chaining 1, and then obviously just like last time for row 4, I'm skipping over the corner chain spaces and making 3 double crochet in the space between the 2 squares. I'm going to repeat this all the way up, and then when I reach the corner chain space of the back panel at the top, I'm going to make 3 double crochet, chain 1, attach with a slip stitch on the strap, chain 1 again, and then make 3 double crochet to complete the corner on the back panel. Chain 1, make 3 double crochet, and repeat that across until I reach the next corner chain space on the back panel at the top, where I'm then going to bring in my second strap and essentially just repeat that joining process on the other side. So after the 3 double crochet in the corner, I'm going to chain 1, slip stitch to the strap, making sure that it's parallel to the other side, chain 1, and then complete the corner of the back panel with 3 double crochet. And then using that same joining process, so slip stitching to the opposite chain space on the strap, chaining 1, and then 3 double crochet in the next chain space of the back panel. When I reach the bottom corner of the back panel, I'm going to make 3 double crochet, chain 1, slip stitch to the opposite corner chain space on the strap, chain 1 again, and complete the corner of the back panel with 3 double crochet. And chain 1 and 3 double crochet back to the beginning, where to finish I'm making a chain 1, slip stitching to the top of the beginning chain 3, and tying off. Now grab yourself a tape measure and measure the widest part of your chest in inches, and I've left the equation on screen which you can pause the video at to work out how long you're going to need each of the side panels. For the side panels, I'm using granny rows, so if you've never crocheted these before, then I've left the full pattern on screen for you to follow, and simply repeating rows 2 and 3 for the side panels until you reach the length in inches that you need from the made to measure equation. After making sure I finish on row 3, I am chaining 1, turning my work over and placing the side panel and strap right sides together, lining up the clusters and stitches, and I'm going to slip stitch across using the back loop and front loop of each panel to create a flat seam. The final slip stitch is going to go under the chain and corner chain space, and then I'm going to tie off here. and it's time to move to the front for the 2 front panels. Again, this is super simple. I'm essentially just attaching the yarn to the bottom corner chain space of each strap and then completing 3 granny rows, which I'll leave all the instructions for on screen. Oh, and of course, if you feel like you need more coverage at the front here, then you can simply have a little fit check and continue with the granny rows for as much coverage as you need. Okay, let me show you the easiest hem ever. So with the waistcoat upside down, I'm attaching this new yarn to the bottom left corner. I'm then going to chain 2 and make 3 double crochet in the next chain space. I'm then going to chain 1 and make 3 double crochet in the same chain space. And all this hem is repeating that process. So 3 double crochet, chain 1, and 3 double crochet in every chain space along the hem. To finish up the hem, once I reach the other side, I'm going to make a chain 2 and slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 on the front panel and tie off here. And all that is left to do for this waistcoat is to create 1 row of half double crochet around each armhole. As you can see on the side panels, I like to make 2 half double crochet across each sideways double crochet and chain. And for the corset tie, like I said at the beginning, I'm using DK yarn in this example, so I actually doubled up the yarn here to create this really long chain. I'm chaining 135, but you may want to chain more if you have altered the length. And at each end of the chain, I'm also tying a larger knot and then trimming over the leftover yarn evenly. With this, I'm then weaving through the front a bit like a shoelace and tying at the top. Make sure to sew in any yarn ends if you haven't already, and that is the Willow waistcoat complete. Of course you can wear this on its own, but since it's a little colder now, I like to use this as a layering piece. Thank you for watching. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you are planning on making this. And if you ever do, I would love to see it. Make sure to tag me on Instagram at @Dudie'sCrochet. Before you head off, make sure to subscribe for more crochet stuff like this. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.